The Mario movie is coming out in just a month and it's got a lot of hype behind it. There are some things that could hold it back, but there is something that's so big and so tall that not even Mario's jumping height could overcome it. This issue could ultimately ruin the Mario movie and destroy any chance of a movie being made in the future. Well, okay, not really, but I like being dramatic. Miyamoto sat down for an interview at comicbook.com and he said, "I really think another factor is the fact that Mario was created as a character within an interactive medium. So for example, if I maybe, drew Mario as a comic book character, I don't think he would have had this much staying power." And that got me thinking, Miyamoto is completely right. There's a reason why Mario succeeded best as a video game character, and unfortunately, this same logic could lead to a disastrous movie for the plumber. Hey beautiful humans, I'm RidersDX and I love Mario. He has great video games and he's worked very well at being a video game franchise for this long, but a huge reason for that is his lack of personality. Yes, this is kind of a drag, but if anything, this has actually aided Mario so well throughout the years. Mario is one of the many examples of what I like to call a silent protagonist, where the main character is largely mute aside from a few catchphrases and stuff. And Mario fits that definition to a T. A mute protagonist, while seemingly dull on the surface, actually helps to officiate this invisible bond between the player and the game that's hard to craft in the game otherwise. It's why games like The Sims and various RPGs have such massive rapid fan bases behind them. People feel like they are literally ingrained in some of these games, and so any attack on this game is like an attack on themselves in a way. While Mario doesn't immerse you to the point where you feel like an Italian plumber in the 80s, it does it enough to open you up to its level design, and at that point the high quality of the game design takes it from there. But that's one of the reasons why Mario has worked so well as a gaming mascot. You have a mute protagonist, it allows for almost any personality type to gel well with it. You don't have to worry about players finding a character to be too annoying, too boring, or too whatever else a character can be found as. I mean, Mario's initial muteness was probably a result of the fact that technology back then didn't really allow for any other kind of protagonist, but the fact that Mario has kept that with him throughout the entire series up to this very point just proves that this is an integral factor to his appeal as a video game character. And you've seen so many characters throughout the years try something similar, especially in the 90s with characters like Crash Bandicoot. But when we're talking about a major motion picture that runs for 90 minutes in theaters, that no longer works. I mean, you can't just have Mario run everywhere and shout "Wahoo!" everywhere he goes. I mean, you could and it might be mildly entertaining, but it certainly would be an interesting challenge. But to create a compelling narrative that connects to audiences, an arc needs to be developed for Mario, and building an arc for a mute character is just not feasible in this medium. So as a result, Mario has to have some kind of backstory, some kind of purpose, some kind of end game to really be able to build a movie off of that. Being totally frank with you, Chris Pratt voicing Mario is one of the film's smaller problems. Sure, Chris Pratt is probably going to do a terrible job voicing Mario. I mean, I'm not really excited about it personally, but as long as it's not downright atrocious, people are going to get over his interpretation of Mario in the long run, and a lot of people watching this movie might even prefer his voice to the original Mario, which is a very, very scary situation, but we're not going to talk about that. What could truly make this movie something that's lost in the sands of time is if they fail to create a compelling narrative and character arc for their title character. By the way, I should get an award for taking this long to compare this movie to, you guessed it, the Sonic movie, but it's completely unavoidable at this point because the Sonic movie does this exact thing and succeeds at it, and that's why this movie is going to have a third movie and has become one of the most successful things about the Sonic franchise. The first Sonic movie, despite its rocky beginnings, took the time to introduce the audience to Sonic, what he loves, what he hates, what he's motivated by, what his moral compass is. A central part to this character is the desire for companionship, being someone who's been alone for most of his life. And the movie really builds upon that and really shows how Sonic is able to find that companionship through opening up to Tom the Cop, and that created a compelling enough character arc that led into a sequel. So a sequel built upon that and drew Sonic into even more intense situations that truly tested his maturity and resilience in the face of difficult situations. Sonic started off the second movie thinking that being a hero was no problem and a piece of cake because of his powers, but as he progresses through the movie, he sees that the threats are extremely real and that he can't just joke his way through it or sloppily do his job. He has to be on the top of his game because he's got a job that's more important than possibly anything else in the world at that point. And the movie's great visual effects and tone on top of this writing is what really makes the Sonic movie franchise a complete hit with the audience. The Sonic movies have so far been able to get to the core of who their version of Sonic is and craft him in a way that's been appealing to people of all ages. But we do have to consider the fact that the Sonic movie has a huge advantage, which is the fact that prior to the movies, Sonic has had numerous iterations that covered similar themes and tropes. Unlike Mario, Sonic was never truly intended to be a mute character. Even though the first games had him not say any dialogue, there were TV shows and such that did make Sonic into a living and breathing personality. So the writers had so much Sonic material up to this very point to kind of build their character off of, and so they took what they knew worked with Sonic and basically just created their own version of it. And that's why the Sonic movies truly worked, is because it stays true to the core values of who Sonic is, but sort of adds their own like youthful interpretation of it that's really refreshing. Now returning back to Mario, that path just isn't as obvious. So Illumination and Nintendo have so much more work for them with this film. I mean, sure, Mario has had certain TV and movie adaptations before, but not nearly as many as Sonic, and they were all received in a mediocre fashion. However, I do believe they're fully aware of this limitation, and that's thanks to this interview the cast did on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Right, I mean, Mario's voice is, it's a guy named Charles Martinet does the voice from the comics. It's obvious, or from the comics, from the video game. Be quiet! Shut up! It's super iconic. You don't hear him say a whole lot.
Yeah.
And really, the video game itself doesn't truly explore so much the character of Mario. It's really the character of Mario is kind of whoever's playing the game, you know? And so when they wrote this script and they reached out to me about doing it, it was really kind of like, how are we gonna flesh out this character? And who is this guy? Like, what world does he live in? How can we tell a 90-minute long story about the character that everybody knows, but they don't really know his story other than he's on a mission to go save a princess. So fleshing out the voice was part of that, and finding, you know, the best voice that would suit a 90-minute long narrative.
Not to mention that the movie is absolutely nailing it when it comes to the visuals and such. I mean, this is as straightforward of a Mario movie adaptation as you can get. It is one thing that the Mario movie has above the Sonic movie. It's the fact that it knew its direction from the very start. The Sonic movie had to sort of figure it out. When the first trailer for the Sonic movie came out, there was so much backlash and so much outrage over it, but thankfully they were able to kind of see what went wrong with that and correct their actions. Well, the Mario movie knew from the very start what fans wanted and how Mario was going to adapt to the big screen. No weird live action goofiness, no tired Hollywood tropes that don't at least fit in the context of the Mario universe. The trailers we've gotten so far have been really solid. Not to mention there's so many fun nostalgic callbacks we've seen so far, like with the plumbing commercial. This movie definitely seems to be going the right direction that's going to appeal to people of all ages. But again, a bunch of flashiness and colors can't cover up a bad narrative, so let's hope the team can come up with something that's truly worthwhile. I will say, you know, watching the trailers and such, I do think that the voice cast is doing a decent job. I mean, Chris Pratt as Mario is sort of like nothing noteworthy in my opinion, but Jack Black as Bowser.
I couldn't give less about my tickets being over $1,000. I don't perform to poor bitches.
Charlie Day as Luigi. Like, these are some very solid performances so far, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this movie is going to bring to the table. But of course, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you worried about the Mario movie, or do you think it's going to be just fine? Let me know why or why not. And if you want more content like this, then let me know what other topics about Nintendo or Mario that you want me to cover in the comment section below. But alright y'all, this is Riders, riding out.